Good morning, and welcome to the First Parish Church of Stow and Acton, a welcoming Unitarian Universalist congregation. If this is your first time with us, we're very happy to have you here, and we do this every Sunday. Just kidding. We're also really happy to have our guests from UU Wellesley Hills here with us this morning, and our orchestra members playing with us today. So our message for all ages this morning is a little bit of an exploration of music, as we'll be doing during our church service today. And so the piece that we're performing is called the Faure Requiem. And it's a piece that's written to be performed musically after someone has died. And we take a musical opportunity to express a little bit of grief, but also, particularly in this piece, a little bit of hope for that person and for ourselves into the future. So we're going to take a listen to a little bit of music now. And I hope that some of the kids who are with us, or some of the adults, can, when we hear a little excerpt, let us know what you think that music is about. So music has different feelings associated with it when we hear it. And so we're going to start with the third movement, and we're going to have organ and violin here with our third movement. And you all tell me what this sounds like after you get a chance to hear it. Thank you. So, what emotions do we think of when we hear that kind of music? Does that remind us of anything? Any ideas? What is that? Sadness. Okay. What else?
Maybe a little bit of
Sadness or depression? Sure. Any other just curiosity? Yeah, what else? Anybody else have an idea? There are no wrong answers. Yes. Emptiness. Wow. I like that. What else? Wistfulness. Yes. Okay. Dreaminess. Good. What else? Looking out on an open meadow with mist. Yes. Relief? Yeah, sure. Yes? Sounds like Santa Claus. That is lovely. Sounds like Santa Claus riding in his sleigh. Sure. What else? Any other ideas? Yes? Somber. Sure. Here's the thing. Whatever you think that sounds like to you is correct. I can tell you what I think it sounds like, and somebody else can say what they think it sounds like, but nobody is wrong. Even if we might think it sounds like different things. Because the thing about music is we hear it, and it sounds like something to us, and it has meaning to us, and that's how we interpret it. Yeah, we're going to hear one other excerpt now, and this is a little bit different, and I hope you can tell me what this sounds like. So this is from the sixth movement, and it's a little bit of a faster section that goes in 6/4 with organ, and this time we're going to welcome the French horns, which are right here. So we'll go right on the 6/4 measure, right on the down. About to pick up. Ready, go. Good, thank you. That's a little bit different, right? What does that sound like? Any words we can use to describe that sound? Yes? Longing. Ooh, good. What's that? A little bit excited. There's a lot of energy to that, right? Say it again? Triumphant. Ooh. Yes? Calm? Good. What else? Expectant. Ooh. Ceremonial, and I heard standing firm. Yes, good. Majesty. This comes at a part in our Requiem, which we'll hear in a moment, for those of us staying in the service, that is very dramatic. It's sort of the most dramatic moment that happens right here. And so all of these things, where music, with all of our instruments up here, you'll get to hear a bunch of different sounds, a bunch of different things all coming together. And we might take very different meaning away from the service, and that is totally fine. You are in Unitarian Universalist Church. You find your own meaning to the music and make something that feels very personal and connected to you.
Today, in just a few moments, we're going to be hearing Gabriel Faure's Requiem. A requiem is a funeral mass, or in this case, a musical composition that builds into its framework the pieces of a funeral mass. Unitarian Universalists may find the words themselves challenging as they reflect a theology that many of us do not share, particularly when it comes to words of punishment, judgment, and wrath. But while the words and structure are very traditional, it's worth understanding that in Faure's time, what he was doing was actually very different from previous requiems. This was a piece that presented death in an uplifting tone, in music that Faure saw as a happy deliverance rather than about fear and punishment. So as we prepare ourselves to listen to this piece, it's worth reflecting for a few moments on the meaning of death for Unitarian Universalists. What do we think happens after we are gone? What is the tone we would like for our funeral service? What words would be stated? What theology expressed? There are, of course, as many different answers as there are people in the pews, and many of us believe very different things. Some of us believe in heaven. Some of us believe in reincarnation. Some believe that we remain on the earth in spirit form. Some believe that this is the only life we are given, and others have other beliefs entirely. The first possibility that we might go to a concrete afterlife, to heaven or some other unmentionable place, although our Universalist heritage tells us there is no other place than heaven, is one that a few people here probably believe in. There are many people throughout Unitarian Universalist history who've believed in some kind of concrete afterlife. I personally once did, but as my theism waned and I became more of an atheist and then an agnostic, my belief in concrete heaven evaporated with my faith. Certainly not to say it can't be possible, and I would certainly never want to argue with those of you who do believe in it, because I think it's a wonderful thing to believe in, and I wish I did. Another popular religious view is reincarnation. Again, a view held by many world religions, that there are probably some people here who believe that as well. It's very much a part of the belief of systems like Buddhism and Hinduism in particular. Another option is that we become ghosts and linger around this earth after we die, or become spirits and become part of this universe, this part of this world. Some religions believe that all ancestors essentially become spirits that are still present here, such as the concept of the kami and Shinto faith, or some Native American beliefs about ancestor spirits. All of these beliefs that I've mentioned so far include a belief in some sort of eternal spirit or soul that continues on after life. And the alternative is to believe that there isn't one. That nothing from beyond nature, nothing that continues on of our personality, or what we might consider our energy. And when our bodies stop, we stop. Many of our humanist Unitarian Universalists would share this belief that what happens after we die is that we are dust to dust, ashes to ashes. What I believe is something a little bit different from all of these. I find that my mind now rejects the idea of finitude just as much as I have trouble grasping the infinite. I'm not a believer in heaven or of reincarnation, but I think I believe something closer to the idea that we are a spirit that roams the earth. What I think is that like our atoms stay around and become parts of other things, our energy, our spark stays around too and becomes part of the universe that is unfolding constantly around us. I don't know what that means exactly. I just call it becoming one with the universe, and I believe that nothing is ever lost completely. The wonderful thing about Unitarian Universalism is that we can individually believe none or any of these ideas or something else entirely, because whichever of these is true, in some sense it truly doesn't matter, because what will be, will be. What does matter for us most is this life here on earth. And that's why in our faith, memorial services are a bit different than you find in many other faiths. Ministers in this faith are trained to do something a little bit different than ministers do in other, particularly Christian traditions. In many Christian funeral or memorial services or a requiem mass, you will hear the minister or the priest talk about salvation, about heaven, about the eternal rewards of life of a life of faith and what happens afterwards. In a sense, you could say in those beliefs, this life meant very little. What is really important in a funeral is the hereafter, because that is eternal. Our faith handles death a little differently. Unitarian Universalists sometimes believe in universal salvation, that every person goes to heaven, but we all have that same reward. Or we sometimes believe that we become dust to dust, but we all have that same fate. So we are equals in our death, and what becomes important in our funeral services is to talk about the life that was lived, because each life is unique. And so in our memorial services, we do something different that is done in many faiths. We talk about the person who has died. We pull together the stories, the photos, the memories, the mementos, the hymns they love, the readings that reflect their personality, the sayings they said, the values they held, and we remember them. It's a profoundly different approach to talk about humanity, not about theology, to talk about the person that was and that person's impact on the living, rather than simply quote scripture and interpret it. We are speakers for the dead, to borrow a phrase from Orson Scott Card. We, the meaning makers, give each life meaning. We tell the stories of the dead through their loves and their sorrows, their experiences, their joys and their troubles, and we shape a story. Whatever we believe about what happens after we die, what will come will come. Our faith is a this-worldly faith, and our services for the dead are this-worldly as well. And what may come, our calling remains the same. Our job is to live the best lives we can, to strive to build the kingdom of heaven here on earth as soon as possible, and not waiting for our deaths for the reward to be handed to us, but working for it to happen here on this world for everyone's sake. This, the here and now, is all we know for certain. There is only the potential of what we build together. May it be so. And now, without further ado, special thank you to our guests this morning, in particular to the UU Church of Wellesley Choir and their director, Susie Cartren, to our chamber orchestra, and to the FPC Choir and Mike Fitzer. That was very wonderful. I am not a minister who doesn't believe in clapping, because I think it's cathartic after that. If you would rise for our benediction and for our closing song. For this is the day, and this is the life, the one wild and precious life we are given. So let us rejoice and be glad in it and choose to bless the world. Amen.
Thank
just want to take 1 second before you all go to thank Susie again, the music director at Wellesley, who was our former music director here more years ago than I think either one of us wants to count. We're really glad to have her back here, and also thank you to our wonderful musicians who came to join us today, both from Wellesley and our professional musicians who are here. One more round of applause for all our guests. Thank you. Go enjoy coffee hour and meet some new people.